If I was Prime Minister, what sort of things would I do? Because I want to bring back tradition. I want to bring back bandstands in the park with kids running about and parents with pushchairs and strollers having hot coffee and a Danish or something in the park while the kids are running around. Go back to having communities where we have like really good play parks and that with like sand pits and cool things. Giving, I do things like if you're a parent and you're at school or you're working and you pay taxes, childcare would be free. You'd get free childcare with my babysitters club. So that's what I'm saying. It's like I have everything all set up ready to go to run my business like a town. So why not just make it a bit bigger and run my country like a business? But it works. I've got everything. I've got everything there. I've got the answers all ready to go to fix Great Britain or Commonwealth countries. I've got the answers ready to go. So because I want to bring back tradition where we looked after our elders and we took care of our young mums, you know, and the women gathered around the young women and the men gathered around the young boys and we taught them life skills and getting them out chopping wood and earning pocket money, babysitting and mowing lawns and that. I want to get back to that. I want to get back to when it was safe for us to keep our doors unlocked and our windows open in the summertime. You know, that's how I grew up. I was lucky enough that I didn't experience racism growing up in New Zealand with Māori people and Pākehās. You know, like I wasn't introduced to that sort of stuff until I got to Australia and the United Kingdom. So I know it's different now, but I lived in a country where it is possible for everyone to be different and grow up together, you know, by helping each other. The Indigenous policies of, the community holding everybody within that community responsible for their actions for the greater good of everybody in the community. Like, I would be the sort of Prime Minister where I would, like with my own children, hold them accountable for their actions. Like, my boys are they're free to express themselves any way they want, as long as they're not obviously breaking the law or hurting anyone like physically or causing them loss or harm or anything like that. They can say or do whatever they want because they know that I hold them personally responsible for everything they say or do because I let them completely govern how they're growing up. I'm just kind of like watching over them. That's why they call me the hover mum. I take care of like their food and all of their emotional needs and that sort of thing. But when it comes to their actions and choices and that, ever since they could walk and talk, they've been held responsible. They've also earned their own pocket money and that. So I want to get back to where kids came home from school and instead of spending 100 hours doing pointless schoolwork, you know, they have a feed and then they go out and do like babysitting or mowing the lawns or, you know, working down at the shop for a couple of hours and, you know, giving them that responsibility, giving people their own spaces as well. Like, like when it comes to the LGBT thing, I'm not saying we're not denying it. What I'm saying is like there are some people out there who are confused, who need to be given the space to understand where they're coming from and to find themselves, but without encouraging them to continue believing something that might be a psychological thing based on the way they're acting. And by which I mean, you know, there are some people out there trying to pass themselves off as women where it's an embarrassment to women, it's disrespectful to women. Even my son sees the same thing. It's also harmful to the people in the LGBT community who just, they don't want to be known as a label, they just want to be known as a human being and to do what they do. You know, they just want to exist and be left alone. That's my son's category. But I also have to, because I'm a person of logic. I also my ascending sign is Libra, so for me it's all about justice and balance. We also have to recognise that there are people out there, a small handful out there, who are needing support in a different kind of way, who still have the right to exist. So, like, I'd be the sort of Prime Minister that would say, have a cafe, have a bar, where all of you can go, nobody's listening to us, there's nowhere for us to go, blah, blah, blah. Have a bar, have a cafe, and all hang out there. And then you've got your own place, have your own support network. Just don't shove it in our faces. It's like, you know, you see people like Birmingham, for example. When I grew up in Birmingham, well, I moved to Birmingham when I was like, was I 28, 29 or something? Jeez. When I grew up in Birmingham, yeah. They had Chinatown that was blended in with everybody else, where if you went through Chinatown, you were welcome. But at the same time, if you never went near Chinatown, it's like whatever. You know, they got on. So it is possible to have Turkish people and Iranian people and Japanese people and Chinese people and trans people have businesses and restaurants and cafes and all that in the same town, in the same city, in the same area, and it not be a big thing. Like, we can do it if you don't make it a big thing. In the same way that we have, like I said, people of different nationalities and religions and that having their restaurants and their cafes and all of that, we would also be, you can have yours too. If you're okay with people who are okay with you coming into your establishments and buying your art or your food or your books or whatever, then, you know, that's wonderful, that's great. And if you didn't rub it in people's faces, you'd probably find that most people, if they knew you sold good food or good coffee and that, regardless of their sexuality, they would partake in it if you just didn't make it a big deal. It's the fact that you're trying to shove it in people's faces. When you're making a big deal out of something you don't actually have a right to complain about because you don't have it as hard as my lot did, the LGBT, even my son agrees with this. I when my son and I were talking about it, and you know, because he's trying to figure out everything, and you know, I said to him, like, he can be the voice of the generation that's like, yeah, I'm young and this is who I am, but I don't want it to be a big deal either. He has the opportunity to be the voice of the normal generation, but even he knows, because I've explained it to him, that the only reason why he's lucky enough to have the rights that he has with a mum that is supportive in that is because of my generation of LGBT and my parents' generation of LGBT who were getting hung and executed in that. And in my parents' day, still, you could still be done for that. You know, my son wants to be my bodyguard. He is a master swordsman. He's wanting to learn how to do stunts and use guns and do self-defense and martial arts and all that, because he wants to be my bodyguard, and he's a member of the LGBT. He's a prime example of how you can be LGBT and still be exceptionally masculine, and be protective and nurturing as well, because he wants to do it to protect his mama. That's what he said. You know, he wanted to be my bodyguard. He said if I was Prime Minister, he wants to be my bodyguard. So I'd send him off to countries like Russia to train with Putin's bodyguards and that. I'd send him off to do proper training, like driving, you know, like defensive driving and all that. He'd learn from the best. I'd send him to learn from the best with his swords and all of that. Like, he's really good with swords. He's training with swords and, like, yeah. So I said to him, if you wanted to be my bodyguard, you know, you could, like, be part of my security, and I'd send you off to do all the training. So, and he's LGBT. So if my son can do it, if and all the people that I grew up with, you've got no excuse. You've got it so much easier than the LGBT of my generation. You have not had to fight anywhere near. You're being Karens about it, and you need to stop, because if we can all just accept that you are who you are, but you have to accept we don't want to hear about it, there's no reason why you can't have your own bars, your own business, where you can promote that that's who you are, but then give the community the opportunity to decide whether they want to come in or not. Otherwise, you've got each other. You can support each other's businesses, and then you've got your own little community inside a wider network where you're protected by the law, where you're protected by the community, where it's like bygones. You are who you are, I am who I am. Let's just meet in the middle. Leave each other alone. I'd be the Prime Minister that you're responsible for your own actions. And when we put on festivals and carnivals and big outdoor concerts, and we're trying to lure in the tourist dollar and all that sort of thing, I need to know that if you're going to put on street festivals and street parties and all of that sort of thing, carnivals and fairs and fetes and that you're not going to be dicks about it. Don't be Karens about it. Like, don't just shut up. Just go there and have fun. Don't make big deals out of anything. You don't need to be going there to cause trouble. Don't be waving no flags. Like, everybody is everybody. We're all the same, coming together to enjoy food, music, fashion, art, whatever, It's a great way to bring everybody together, to introduce everybody's cultures and that, but where everybody's just there to have a good time and relax because they've been working, because they want to invest in the local businesses, the local artists, their talents and their restaurants and all that. Go back to where we had street festivals and that, where every stall was a different food from a different country. I know in Scotland, my boy used to go to all the Caribbean ones because he's obsessed with jerk chicken. It's like his favourite thing. So I would be the Prime Minister that got the restaurants and bars and pubs and clubs and B&Bs and that open, because I'd be relying on you to help me lure the tourists in, because I know how to make money for this country in the tourist industry, and it's going to require all hands on deck, farms and the B&Bs and the hotels, and to get money back in. But we'd be saving so much money just getting rid of the net zero climate change with who blah bollocks. We'd be able to give you the money to like stately homes that were in disrepair. We would give you grants and that to do it up if you were willing to rent out a couple of rooms every time we had certain festivals and that sort of thing. All hands on deck, and then everybody's making money, but everyone's watching out for each other, but everyone's holding themselves accountable. Unless you're actually breaking the law, I don't want to have to get my police involved, other than when they're walking around the festivals, you're handing them a burger or a piece of chicken, which is why I'd have to make going to the gym free for my for my police departments. I'd either have to put gyms inside the police departments or make going to the gym free. They'll end up getting fat. Especially at like Christmas time and when I have my festivals and that. I want everybody coming together to celebrate all the things about Great Britain. And one of the things that I love about Great Britain, that I grew up with back home, was foraging. And so I would be, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, like growing them again out in the countryside and in the parks, and like walnuts and chestnuts and all that, like, and apple trees and that, and planting them all around the countryside, all around like the parks where the kids are going to be, and then let the parents come down with the kids with their little baskets and stuff and pick the fruit, and then go home and make jams or pies, or to put them in their cereal, that sort of thing. So then they've got free nuts and berries and fruits and all of that they can just pick and then go home and just enjoy them, or sit and eat them in the park. There'd be no pesticides or anything on them. So yeah, that's one of the things that I'd be doing. I'd want to get them going back down to the beach and the rivers and all that to go for swims. You know, I grew up swimming in the river, in the lakes, and you know. So the other thing is as well, because of I'd be calling all my military in, my navy, and that would be responsible for obviously protecting the waters, but making sure that we don't have an issue with overfishing, because we've got to stop the overfishing. We've got to stop letting foreign countries and that overfish in our waters. We need to be able to give our oceans time to heal and replenish itself. So my navy and that would be, and like my coast guards, do they have coast? Yeah, coast guards and that, they'd be responsible for protecting our waters right up to the line. So that we can, you know, when we have our fish and chips and all of that, it's sustainable and it's not under overfishing conditions where, you know, we're not leaving anything for the whale sharks and all that sort of thing. So I'm massive into conservation. Our peacekeepers, it would literally only be for peacekeeping. There wouldn't be any of this, oh yeah, we're peacekeepers while we are doing deals to get like gold mines from, you know, the poor people of Africa and all that sort of thing. We'd be actual peacekeepers where if there was anything going on and someone needed our assistance and it was like, where I was like, yeah, they need help, we'd be standing between them and keeping the peace and standing back. That we would be not getting involved in any sort of conflict. We would be taking aid. We would be taking medical supplies, like peacekeeping, under my watch. Anyway, so yeah, walnut trees, apple trees, all sorts of things, lemon trees. Just let people help themselves. Because the thing is, when I first moved to Yorkshire, when I first moved to Wakefield, where I was living in Crigglestone, we had a whole like bit of the road there where it was just like wild apple trees, and the apples were just like dropping and rotting. And I keep saying to my ex-husband, like, oh my god, people could be picking these apples and like making apple pies, stewed apples for when they're sick or got the flu, making it, turning it into baby food, you know, like grating it into porridge, that sort of thing, and you weren't allowed to touch them, and then they got all killed off. That's unacceptable. Let people eat the bloody apples, you know. So I'd be that kind of prime minister. Like, I want our food, our farmers' food, our honey to rival New Zealand's. I want, you know, our meat and our lamb and our pork and all that to be absolutely superior, but also ethical. I want to encourage music and art and entertainment and movies and all that again, like give grants to people who want to start games companies, give grants to people who want to open businesses again, because I want to get the towns open again. I want to get people back in shopping. Now, the other thing is, one thing that I would be doing when it came to anyone who made alcohol, and this is including me, I want to make my own alcohol, so I'd be paying for this too, and I'm also going to be a tavern owner, so this would include me, so I'd be having to pay this too. What I would be doing is based on the area, you know, like council tax and that sort of thing. For every place that sold alcohol, they would have to pay like a certain tax, or let's just say like a fee. Just say it's like 350 quid a month, right? And that 350 quid a month pays for the drink driving program. So if people come into your establishment and they drove in, they have to hand over their keys, and it all gets logged and documented and blah blah blah. And then if they want their keys back, they have to do a breath test. If they fail the breath test, you'll get like double, like dual drivers, like the drink driving club sort of thing, where two drivers would come to the establishment, drive your car and you home, and then you get home and your car's home and you don't have to worry about it. And then they drive home. So two people turn up, one drives your car home with you, and then you're at home with your car, and then he gets back in the other car, and then they drive off. It'd be a brilliant job for like flatmates, roommates, people who live together, who are happy to like jump in the car together, who both have like legal licenses, siblings, husband and wife, you know, that sort of thing. Neighbours, best friends who just wanted to make money, where they just like getting out and talking to people. So they'd be paid to be like the drink driver for the person who failed the breath test. So then all the drinking establishments like hold everyone responsible for drink driving, because then it would cut down, you know, drink driving accidents and DUIs and all that sort of thing, which would also ease the burden off the courts and hospitals and all of that. But then also as well, we would be paying a service as part of like council tax, because I'd be getting rid of anything that was unnecessary. If you're paying council tax to ease the feelings of a man with a beard and a dress, then that's going to go, sort of thing. Like I would absolutely scrap everything that was unnecessary, that appeased hurt feelings and that sort of thing. Like I'm logic and doubt and reason and compromise. That's me. I'm also honest. I'm fully prepared to play the devil's advocate, but I also am absolutely 100% prepared to listen to both sides, and I make my decisions based on an evaluation of both arguments. So I'm like, just say if I was in the leader of the Labour Party, I would absolutely be taking into consideration everything that the Tories said, everything that the Green Party said, you know, and then I would make my decision based on a fair assessment that was that kept everybody happy, or most of the people happy. I'm not going to appease unnecessary drama, lies, corruption. Like I'm not going to play into that game. But one of the things that we would do with our council tax is we would put on a service where if you're working late night and the buses have stopped running, or you've been out drinking late and you've got no money for a taxi home, there would be a free service that would be put on where we would have buses at certain points that would leave every hour. So everybody who was out would know that if they were coming out of the hospital because they were, nursing at night and that, just like a bus, but it would be like either where there was no bus service running, or where you had no money for a taxi or anything like that. If you just get to that point, even if you have to wait an hour, if you just get to that point, there will be buses that will go from as soon as the sun goes down until the normal buses and all of that start running again. But it means that sexual assaults and muggings and stabbings and all of that, there'll be no victims. Everyone will have a way to get home. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and you've got to get back into town, there will be a number that you can call where this service will be paid for by, people with their council tax and that, where it's, again, universal credit. Even if you're on what I would call the community wage and you can drive and you're fully licensed in that, but you don't have a car, we'll give you a car. If you're going to help us keep women safe, keep the elderly safe, keep young mums safe, keep young men safe. It's not just about women. Men walking home from work or after a night out, there's just as many men that go missing off the streets as women. Trust me, because I investigate them. There's a service that we will put on for them where all they have to do is just download that app and put in their details, and someone will be there, just like an Uber, but it will be free. It'll be paid for by the council. It'll be paid for by, in your council tax and that sort of thing, to keep Britain safe, regardless of your sex, your religion, your nothing. We're not there to judge. We're there to get you home in one piece. Everything's recorded. Everything's documented. There'll be panic buttons that you can hit if you feel like your driver is, being a bit woo or sus or anything like that. But the thing is, we wouldn't let them do that if they didn't pass certain tests and criteria. Obviously if they've been in prison for serial sex offences and that, we're not going to be letting them be drivers or to go and pick up kids and that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So so I'm sitting here thinking of all these things. I want to bring back proper ice cream. again, I would be making money off that because I want to have my own dairy company. But some of the proceeds of the money would be going to Yorkshire domestic abuse support for men and women of victims of domestic abuse. The other thing I would be doing as well is I would be bringing in tougher laws against parental alienation, because it's a what my ex-husband did. It's a form of narcissistic abuse. It's cruel and unusual punishment. It's causing psychological abuse on the keeping the parents away from the children and turning the parents against the kids and stuff like that. So fathers who are being kept away from their kids because their baby mamas are being assholes and stuff like that. The fathers would be getting more rights, but then so would the mothers as well. We would be having special family courts in that where the kids were heard regardless of their age, as long as it wasn't causing them distress. It would be done in a way where the kids got to have a say, where the kids get to speak up, but where the one being kept away from the children are given just as much rights and just as much support. And if the mother or the father is going to make claims against the other, they have to have evidence to back it up, not just hearsay, actual evidence. See, I've got actual evidence to the point where my evidence gave me a domestic abuse number from the West Yorkshire Police 3.5 years ago. That's how good my evidence was. It went from me just having a normal PC to getting a detective. That's how good my evidence was, and my evidence wasn't even half as much now as half as much then as now. But yeah, I'd be bringing in all sorts of rights to protect the parents and the ones that have been alienated, and all these dads that have been kept away from their children. Every child has a right to be raised by both parents, whether the parents are together or not. There needs to be more laws to protect the children when it comes to both sides when the parents aren't together, because it causes irreparable damage to these kids. I know, because that's what I do with my Ascension therapy, and that I deal with a lot of people dealing with childhood trauma because of the shit that their parents put on them. And I have to hold my hands up and say that I was exactly the same, because I ignored all the red flags. I didn't leave sooner. I should have left sooner, but he was so good at talking me into seeing his way of things that I didn't realise he was abusing me. And so I think my life's journey and everything I've created out of it makes me the perfect Prime Minister, because I can identify with everyone from every angle. From the single mother of domestic abuse, sexual abuse, racial, I've been racially abused. I've been, yeah, I had my human rights violated. I was not unconstitutional. They don't have the constitution. You know what I mean? Like, I was unfairly locked up. I was charged with things that I didn't deserve to be charged with. I was accused of things that I was completely innocent of. I had all my rights taken away. I've survived the conspiracy theory thing. I'm an immigrant, but I'm here legally. I'm Indigenous. I was raised Catholic. I defend Christianity. I defend Islam. My grandmother was Egyptian, born in Syria. She was Muslim. Did I say single mum? Yeah, I did say single mum. It's the thing I'm most proud of, being a mum. So, yeah, I'm from a farming country. I'm from a military background. Like, I get it from every angle. I understand it from every angle, which is why I think When I went around all these communities and called all these meetings and stuff like that, and I needed to talk to the miners about how the hell do I get all the mines and they're open again, and who do I need and what do I need, and tell me what to do, sort of thing. Or where I'm going around the farmers saying, I need more dairy, I need this, I need that, grow this wheat and that crop and blah, blah, blah. I need to know when I'm going around in that I can appeal to everybody. I can sit down and listen to everybody's point of view and then try and come up, because I'm a problem solver, and then come up with a way, okay, so I can't do this because this law says this, but what I can do is, how about this? And then, we go from there. I'm that person. I want to go around all the communities and that and sit down and say to like the miners and the people from the factories and the mills and, all the ones that I'm going to be having to come out of retirement and get back to work and all that sort of thing. What do you need from me? Because this is what I need from you. And how can we help each other? I can do that. What I won't be doing is allowing foreign investors to buy up our businesses and our lands and our properties. In fact, I would be bringing in stuff where maybe we were giving them their money back. People like BlackRock and Vanguard and that, I would be terminating their sales or finding some legal way of saying to them, you can no longer buy properties in the UK, and the ones you have bought, you have to give back to the people. I'll find some sort of law where we have to give them their money back. Or if we can't, then yeah, I'll be doing something, but Britain will be for the British, or I don't know what I mean, from the way Scotland are jumping up and down, I'm pretty sure being Prime Minister of Great Britain means that I have a say over Scotland, so I'd be sorting Scotland out and Northern Ireland as well. You can best believe that I'd be kicking their bloody leaders up the arse. Scotland would be going back to how Scotland used to be, thank you very much. So I'd be going around all these communities, all these places and that, and saying, what do you need from me? And what can I do for you? And making sure that Britain is for the British, and that we make Britain pristine and so beautiful and so wholesome and so clean and so traditional and so, Christian British Empire values and all of that. And make it so good and so tasty that when we do open the door to the tourists and the investors and that we want to welcome in, that we're happy to do business with, like, with our textiles, our energy and all of that. Obviously, we're going to want to sell our stuff to other countries. So when we do open the doors, they walk in through Dover or whatever and just be like, oh my God. Because like we've built this nirvana. They'd walk in to walk around the parks and stuff after their business meetings and just like crack walnuts off the tree, pick apples, where they don't even have to worry about washing it, where they get to have fresh local honey in their tea, in their hotels, where they get to come to our festivals and eat the food and drink all our booze and all that and not have to worry about being stabbed in the park. I'm just saying, where they don't want to leave, and if they do want to stay, it's because they're like, oh my God, I want to bring my business here. I'm going to send my kids to college here. Invite them in, cook a beautiful meal, bake a loaf of bread, open the windows, and just let the smell entice people in. With going back to making British movies like my Becoming Spellbound, I want to make that in Ireland anyway. Half of my characters I was talking about, they've got Welsh accents and stuff in my head, so I keep thinking maybe this is what I'm being told, just maybe do it here. But the thing is, I can't do it here with Starmer and Labour in charge. So it's like I got to roll my sleeves up. Okay, so if God is saying you need to stay here and help, then I need to roll my sleeves up and think, okay, well, if I'm going to plant my seeds here, the only way I'm going to do that is if I get rid of the government. So now that's what I'm doing. And if I have to do that through running for Prime Minister then, or being shump de ploop or whatever it is until an election, the flump de floof, whatever that law is, the King's law, the ancient law, where he's allowed to put someone in charge. I can't remember the name of it though. It's something. It's something. I'm probably making it up, but it's something like Secretary General to the King, or something. But I think it's like a French or a Latin name. But it basically means like the interim representative of the king to in government. The king can run his country without a parliament. He actually doesn't need a parliament at all. He can run his country completely on his own. That's what King George did, I think. Was it King George the Fifth or something? One of the King Georges completely got rid of his parliament because he was sick of the fighting, he was sick of the trouble it was causing, and he ran the country on his own without a parliament. So you don't actually need prime ministers in that, but it's secretary or general something or other of the king, or I can't remember the name of it though. I haven't been able to find it since, and it's driving me up the wall because I'm limited as to what I'm allowed to search to because shadow banned. But it's something like it's the person who tells the people what the king's saying and doing and stuff, and then this person then goes back to the king and says, well, how about we do like advisor to the king, but I don't know, a general something advisor to the king, or but I think it's Latin or French or flump de floof, fleur de leu, clom de cloop. It's like a really ancient law. A really old law, but it is one that it still exists to this day. Someone's going to have to go like into the Wayback Machine to. It's going to be someone who like absolutely knows the law from every angle. Will know. Oh, she's talking about the blah 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 law, where the person is put in charge until there's an election, or because there is no parliament, that sort of thing. But yeah, I just wrap Great Britain in a bubble, clean it, heal everyone, get everything back and running again, wind everything back to when everyone was chill and tradition ruled, and the empire was something to be proud of, being proud to be, waving your flags and your Union Jacks, and get it back to that, where the kids can run around the street and they all come home at night in one piece and not victims of trauma. You know, where everyone's keeping an eye out for everyone's holding themselves responsible for their own actions, otherwise their community will be the ones to say, no, we're not happy with this, out, sort of thing, like tribal law. Let everyone be responsible for what happens in their own neighbourhoods. And if you're going to say stuff that's racist or offensive or anything like that, the police don't need to be getting involved, the courts don't need to be getting involved. You say what you want, you say whatever's on your mind, but then let the people who are witnessing it make up their mind whether you're telling the truth or not, or whether you're acting like a dick or not. The police and the courts don't need to be getting involved when it comes to petty social media opinionated arguments and stuff. Let them fight it out amongst themselves. You don't need to be getting the court. They're sitting there saying about, the court system, we're at 99% for the prisons and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, because you make every single thing illegal. So, of course, the courts are going to get backed up. So just stop being Karens and Kyles. Let everybody else go